The observation chamber was designed for one purpose: to watch things die. Sienna lay motionless on the examination table, her chest still, her eyes glazed and vacant. The Krell Scientific Council stood behind reinforced glass, their chitinous bodies clicking with what might have been satisfaction. For 3 cycles they had studied the humans, these soft, water-filled creatures who claimed to be worthy of joining the galactic concordance. Pathetic, chittered High Researcher Vexthor. 37 of their time units and still no regeneration. The human expires from simple atmospheric deprivation. Albert pressed his fists against the glass from the adjacent holding chamber, his face contorted with rage and grief. They had taken Sienna first, drained the oxygen from her sealed room and forced him to watch. The Krell's test was simple: prove human resilience or be classified as livestock. "You killed her," Albert whispered, his voice breaking. "We merely removed the oxygen," Vexthor corrected. "A Class II species would have adapted. Your companion failed. You will be next." The council members turned to leave, their assessment complete. Humanity would be categorized as non-sentient, suitable only for labor or biomass. It was efficient. It was logical. Then Sienna's fingers twitched. Vexthor's sensory stalk swiveled back toward the chamber. Impossible. Neural activity ceased. Sienna's chest heaved, expanding violently as her body pulled in massive gulps of the restored atmosphere. Her eyes, previously vacant, suddenly focused with sharp intensity. She sat up slowly, deliberately, her movements controlled despite the trembling in her limbs. The Krell researchers scattered backward, their confidence evaporating. "Observation," Sienna said, her voice hoarse but steady. She looked directly at Vexthor through the glass. "You measured brain death at 6 minutes without oxygen. You waited 37 minutes total to ensure complete cellular cessation. Your protocols are thorough." She swung her legs off the table, standing on shaking knees. "What you didn't account for," she continued, "is that humans don't just survive. We refuse to quit." She touched her chest, feeling her own heartbeat. Mammalian diving reflex. When we're deprived of oxygen, our bodies shut down everything non-essential. Heart rate drops to 15%. Blood flow redirects to the brain and heart only. We go dormant, but you had no pulse. Vexthor's translator crackled with distortion. "No brain activity after 6 units. You measured wrong," Sienna said flatly. "You used equipment calibrated for species with crystalline neural structures. Our bioelectric signatures are different, quieter, especially when we're barely alive." She walked toward the glass, each step steadier than the last. Albert was openly weeping in his chamber, his hands pressed against the barrier. "Humans evolved on a death world," Sienna continued. "We survived ice ages, predators, diseases, and our own stupidity. We're not the strongest or the fastest. We're not the smartest." She smiled then, cold and hard. "But we're the most stubborn. We don't know when to die." Vexthor's claws scraped against his datapad. "This is unprecedented. Your cellular recovery rate is terrifying, isn't it?" Sienna interrupted. "You want to know what else is terrifying? Human memory, human patience, human spite." She leaned close to the glass. "You just murdered me in front of my partner. You tortured him by making him watch, and you did it because you thought we were weak." The room had gone completely silent except for the hum of life support systems. "I'm going to walk out of here," Sienna said quietly. "Albert is going to walk out with me. And then you're going to submit your report to the Concordance recommending humanity for full membership status." "Do you know why?" Vexthor said nothing. "Because if you don't," Sienna continued, her voice never rising above conversational level, "I'm going to make sure every human in the galaxy knows what the Krell do in their research facilities. And then you'll discover what 7 billion angry, stubborn, spite-filled humans are capable of when we're motivated." She tapped the glass once, the sound sharp in the silence. "We held our breath and walked on the moon. We split the atom. We turned deserts into gardens and gardens into deserts. We've survived everything our own planet threw at us, and then we looked at the stars and said, that's next." Her smile widened. "You think we're weak because we don't have exoskeletons or redundant organs. But we're the species that looked at wolves, apex predators, and said that would make a good pet." Vexthor's claws trembled on his datapad. "We don't just survive," Sienna said softly. "We thrive out of sheer defiance. So no High Researcher, I don't think you'll be filing a report recommending us for livestock status. The door to her chamber hissed open. Then Albert's chamber opened as well. He stumbled out, moving immediately to Sienna's side, steadying her as she swayed slightly. Still think we're weak? Sienna asked, looking around at the assembled Krell Council. Vexthor's claws clicked rapidly across his pad, entering data with frantic speed. Full membership status recommended, humanity classified as Class 1 adaptive survival species. High threat assessment. Not a threat, Albert said, speaking for the first time since Sienna's revival. His voice was rough, dangerous. A promise. You leave us alone, we leave you alone. You come at us again. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. As they walked out of the observation chamber, Sienna's legs finally gave out. Albert caught her, lifting her easily despite his own exhaustion. 37 minutes, she whispered. Did we win? Yeah, Albert said, his voice thick with emotion. We won. Behind them, the Krell Council watched the humans leave, their chittering filled with newfound respect and unmistakable fear. They had tested human weakness and discovered something far more dangerous: human will. The report that reached the Concordance 3 cycles later was unprecedented. Humanity was granted full membership, with a special notation in their file that would make other species pause before challenging them. Deceased for 37 time units. Subject recovered, inadvisable to test further. And in the margins, in Vexthor's own notation, they don't break. They adapt. Recommend extreme caution. Humanity had passed their test, not by being the strongest but by refusing to accept death as an answer. End.